Hello everybody, welcome back to Graceful Embroidery. Today we're going to look at my new Jacobean sampler machine embroidery quilt blocks, and it's all done in the hoop, and I'm very excited to show all 12 of them to you today. Before I show you each of the quilt blocks, I wanted to show you my 260 square hoop. Now, as you can see, it's got this cohesive bandaging. It's slightly sticky, and you start at an angle and you wrap it all the way round, and you can leave it on your hoop, and I mean it stays. I've got it on a few of my hoops and it's great for any type of embroidery. It holds everything in place just that little bit more, and it's great when you're using when you're embroidering out these quilt blocks. I just wanted to show that to you. It will get a bit grubby and tatty after a while, and then you can replace it. But it is another way of avoiding things moving in your hoop, which is very important when you're dealing with the layer of. Very important when you're dealing with a sandwich of layers, as you are when you're doing these quilt blocks. I've got all 12 quilt blocks here, and I just want to go through and talk about a little bit about each one, and before they are released. This is the first one, and as you can see, they've been created with the elements, with some of the elements, not all, the smaller elements within the Jacobean sampler collection. I've stitched all 12 out on silk dupion, and this is a vanilla silk dupion which I got from the Silk Route, which is silk distributors in the UK. You'll find links to it on my website. So this one, the first one, has been stitched out in the 260 hoop, and it is you've got the silk, then you've got the batting, which is a Hobbs cotton, 80% cotton, 20% polyester, which gives it just a little bit more strength. And we've got quilting stitches in the middle here. I've done many stitch outs of these quilt blocks, and these were my final 12. And my purpose was to find out the very best way of embroidering them out. This one starts in the middle with a lovely swirl here. And again, this one has been done with the same batting, and the stabilizer on the back is sulky, soft and sheer. I have used stitch and tear. It's not, because it's not flexible like the mesh, it doesn't give such a nice finish, so that is my preferred way of doing it. The colours on these blocks are not the same colours that I've used in the collection. The collection is got many colours in it, so I've had to compress them and not use them so many. The frames, there are 12 frames, and I have paired them up with the 12 blocks, but the frames come separately, so you can match them up as you see fit. And that one is done in exactly the same way on the sulky, soft and sheer. It's a bit of a tongue twister, that, and you'll notice how nicely you get the pronounced areas where there is no stitching. This one has little hearts on it. Let's zoom in and have a look at them. And they're all got a surround of gold. This is quite a bit more of an open one. The frames that go round the 12 blocks, the first 8 do not have any quilting stitching in them. The quilting stitches are in the centre block. But that's that one, and I love some of those colours there. Very subtle. when you look at the colours that I've chosen, you'll see some of the greens are very similar, but when you've got blending like this, it's very important. And I hope you can see the vivid colours on here. It's very hard to capture it in photographs for the products page on the website. So that was number 4. This is number 5, which is quite open too. And while we're here, I just wanted to show you something. When you stitch these out the normal way, you have the batting underneath the fabric with the sulky stabilizer below that, and only the stabilizer is hooped. The rest is floated and attached with temporary adhesive. But I noticed that this can happen very easily because I think it's in a sandwich, quite a thick sandwich. The sides here tend to lift up, and if you're not careful, as the machine goes round and stitches this satin border, which is optional, you don't have to do it, it can catch them and create a tiny little flaw like you see there. So it's important, as I've included in the PDF, to take them down and pin them, especially if you're leaving the room and not watching every little stitch. This is the next one. I had such fun combining these, I really did. And I hope you like the fact that we've got 3 or 4 bright colours, and then the rest of the colours are more subtle. And here we are on number 7. I love these little gold flowers here. I think the camera's picking these colours up quite well. It seems to on video much more than it does on ordinary photos. This is the 8th block. It's quite an open block, but it has a lot of quilting in the actual block, not in the surround, with little windows with embroidery in the middle of them. So those are the first 8 blocks. Then the final 4 have different frames. As you can see, the frames on these are quilted. And I've given you different quilt frames. This one has got stippling. I love this design, and I'm going to pick it up and try and show you some of the rich colours in it. So that's the stippling frame. This one here has got like sort of little boxes around the edge, and quite a lot of colours in that one. And this is the final. Yes, this is number 12, and it's got hexagonal quilting stitches round it. Now, when I started working on these, you can see we have this little catch here up in the corner. When I started working on these, my intention was to find another way of stitching them out. We've all seen the beautiful quilts online on Pinterest, or when we go on to quilt shows, and we've probably seen how when a quilt is created and sent to a professional long armour, they will do surrounds. They will add quilting stitches around sections of the embroidery, which, unlike the other ones, it lifts the embroidery up. Whoops. So you get a slightly different look, especially when you look sideways onto it. And that's what I wanted to do for these quilt blocks, which is why the embroideries tend to be in clusters. And here on this one here, we can see it too, how lovely that it's a completely different look, but it takes a little bit more effort. Basically, the embroidery stitches are done on a layer of 2 layers of stitch and tear. Then the hoop is removed from your embroidery machine and it stays in the hoop, the work, and it's turned over and you work on the back. Now this isn't in a hoop, but basically you get a little quilt sandwich to support the work, and you remove the stabilizer. I shall be showing you this in another video. And then more stabilizer and batting is added, and this gives this professional look, quite different to the normal or simple way of stitching them out. So you have the silk and 2 layers of stitch and tear. The middle section is removed carefully and it's cut in such a way that it's still supported here on the edge, and then the batting is floated underneath. And because the stabilizer in this center area has been removed, you put sulky, soft and sheer on the back to support the embroidery in the middle. And obviously at that point backing can be put on as well. I must admit I didn't back any of these quilt blocks because I was so busy just looking for that special look that I wanted. So that one has been done with that special way of doing things, and that is number 3. When you look at number 3 that has been done the other way, I think you can see the differences. So that is the advanced method, and you get a little bit more of a oomph with it. And the other question, just before I go, is do you press your embroidery? Now this one here I don't think has been pressed. I pressed all my 12 blocks because I wanted to set the stitches, but this one was pressed before the batting was added. So this is why I make up a little support to go under the hoop, and you have to carefully remove the stabilizers. There's 2 layers of stabilizers, so it's painstaking, although you don't have to worry about all the ends. They can be left because nobody's going to see them because they'll be inside, so it's just a case of snipping them rather than trimming them. So those are the 2 looks, and I've been, over the last few days, I've been writing the PDF that accompanies all these designs. It's quite detailed and explains how each of them are done. But I just wanted you to see the difference between the simple method and the advanced method. And if you're not a beginner, then I suggest you do try this, but try it on one of the smaller blocks first. And perhaps a great way of testing something out is just to put your colour on, put your machine on monochrome and just stitch everything out in one colour. It's quicker, but you can see what look you're going to achieve with the stabilizer and with the batting that you've chosen. And it can be a challenge, it can be a bit overwhelming, and you do need to try and find the look that you're searching for. And it's worth doing a few tests beforehand, before you start the marathon of creating all the blocks for a quilt or a wall hanging, which I did, which took me over a week. The average quilt block is 60 to 80,000 stitches, and there are quite a few colour changes, so it takes a little while to do. I think that is all, and I've just so enjoyed working on these embroideries. It's taken a long time to do, but I knew the look that I was trying to get. This was what I was trying to achieve, rather than this look, which is great, but it's not quite what I wanted, which is why there isn't an abundance of quilt stitches. The way the designs have been digitized is a little bit different, and you probably wouldn't be able to do this with some of my previous quilt blocks, because when you look at them you'll see that the quilting stitches are underneath the embroidery, so they can't be adapted. So thank you very much for bearing with me as I talk about these Jacobean sampler quilt blocks. They will be released very soon. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'd be very grateful if you could leave a comment, hit the like button and the little bell. If you subscribe, you'll be informed every time I upload a new video to this channel. So until next time, happy embroidering.